Hello my friends, welcome to Anna's Violets. If you would like to know how to grow Fittonia, how to make this plant really happy, then this video is for you. Today we're talking about growing conditions for Fittonia and what are the best solutions, the best environment for this plant to thrive. Okay, so today we will be talking about Fittonia, which is also called nerve plant, just because of the, well, you can guess, right? Just because of the shape, the structure, and the colors of the leaves. You can find so many varieties. The leaves can be pink, purple, red, yellow, greenish, even white. So all these varieties are very beautiful. And Fittonia is a very unique plant because you will make it thrive if you have a proper environment, or at least if you're growing it as a house plant, you have then the right conditions in your home for this plant. Let's talk about the conditions. Well, first of all, the soil. There's nothing special about the soil here. I'm growing my Fittonia in just a universal soil that I'm using for most of my plants, the ones that are not requiring, very specific type of soil. Of course, any pot will do for Fittonia, but make sure that you have holes, because even though these plants, they love humidity, air humidity, and also moisture of the soil, but the drainage holes are very important, because sitting in a wet environment in water, it will be not very beneficial for this plant. It can get rotten very easily. All right, well, the pot, make sure it has drainage holes, and the soil can be any universal soil that you can find in your area. Let's talk about light. These plants like very bright indirect sunlight, so don't put it under direct sunlight. If you would like to grow it maybe closer to the window, but make sure that the sun is not falling directly on the leaves, because you can easily damage the leaves this way. So try to provide maybe semi-shade or even shade for this plant, but make sure that the light is very bright. All right, now the most important thing, watering, and in general humidity. These plants love humidity of air and of the soil, so try to water it regularly. I would say, depending on your climate, of course, but try to make sure that the soil is always a little bit moist, so that it doesn't get bone dry, or stays dry for longer periods of time. However, you will notice that when you are a bit late with watering, the plant will show you. The leaves will be droopy, the plant will be unhappy, the branches will be, bending and falling a little bit. But as soon as you water it, in just a couple of hours, the plant will recover. This, of course, depends on the period of time when the plant stays dry. So if it needs watering and you are late for about maybe 1 day or 2 days, the plant may still recover. But if it's for a longer period, then unfortunately some of the leaves, or maybe even the whole plant, will not be able to recover, and you will eventually lose your plant. So yes, try to keep the soil always a little bit moist, not wet, but always moist. What's most important is the air humidity. So if, especially in winter, if you're growing your plant next to the heating, this is a very bad area for your plant, because the dry air from the heating may also damage the plant. So try to spray it sometimes, even in summer. It really doesn't matter, but the air around the plant should be humid. How to do this? There are several ways. You can, of course, spray your plant from time to time whenever you remember. You can use a humidifier. You can also put your plants together with other plants, because the evaporation from the soil of other plants as well will help and will create this humid environment for Fittonia. Besides that, these plants are just gorgeous and wonderful plants to grow them in terrariums or in the bathrooms. Well, I have two. This bigger one that you see in the video is growing in our bathroom, and the smaller part of it, which is actually a cutting, I have planted this cutting in my terrarium. And if you haven't seen how I was planting my plants in the terrarium, I will link the video. You can see it in the top right corner of this video, so you can go and watch it afterwards. Okay, so in the terrarium, you can imagine that the air is very humid, and the Fittonia is growing there just perfectly. All right, as for the fertilizing, so once a month should be fine. It really depends. It's better to fertilize less than more than required. As for the propagation, you can definitely propagate this plant with cuttings, and it's very easy if you take already, like by division, if you take a cutting that has already roots, because sometimes if you try to propagate with the cuttings in water, sometimes the cuttings can get rotten in the water. But you can easily separate the bush, take just a couple of cuttings, the ones that already have their own roots, and just plant it separately, and then you will have a new plant. To make it grow bushy, you can sometimes pinch a little bit the tips, and this will actually stimulate the growth from all other nodes, and this way your cuttings will grow different other branches from just one stem. All right, so I'm really curious to know which varieties you are growing, which colors, if you're growing them in terrariums or just as a house plant normally in pots. I'm really curious to learn about your experience, so if you can, just please write in the comments which variety you have and how you grow it. All right, so this is a short video, and if anything in this video was useful for you, please subscribe, click on the bell button, like, share with your friends, and stay patient about plants, and I'll see you next time.